Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It is the Monday show with myself, Andrew Musgrove, and our Newcastle United editor, Aaron Stokes. We are here to talk about all things Newcastle United, the transfer market, talk of expansion at the stadium, Anthony Gordon doing wonders for the England under-21s, and much, much more. Aaron, first off, you had a nice weekend?
Yeah, lovely weekend. Got out of Newcastle, went down south, watched a good friend of mine get married. So yeah, very, very nice. What about yourself?
I spent the weekend doing something very exciting, planing doors in the house.
Oh yeah, you did text me about that. Wasn't very envious of you, to be fair.
No, Saturday, lovely hot day, and there was me trying to saw down a door to make it fit. That's what my life has become.
That's married life for you now, isn't it?
It is, it is. But yes, things need to be done. But plenty going on in the world of Newcastle United, and we're going to start with the latest transfer news, and that is on Sandro Tonali. Got that one right because I got a lot of stick over the weekend. Admittedly, I did inadvertently stick in an extra I in his name, which I didn't do on purpose. I just
You're
did it
getting
by.
confused with Bruno Tonioli, aren't you?
I hear you're a big fan, Aaron. Yes, Sandro Tonali, AC Milan midfielder for now, but we expect him to be a Newcastle United player within the next few days. This one is sort of come out of the blue. There was whispers Newcastle were watching him, but their focus lay elsewhere, i.e. Barella over Inter Milan. The prices being talked about there were quite astronomical. However, they've then moved on to a player who midfielder, but a different sort of midfielder. But interestingly, what I find is that he's not that much cheaper, we believe, than what Barella would have been. And also the background. We believe Barella wouldn't leave Inter Milan because he was a boyhood Inter Milan fan. Why would you leave your boyhood club? Inter Milan going well in the league, going well in the Champions League. Not too distant from what Tonali's doing, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just want to firstly say thank you to all the people that have kindly reminded me that on last week's pod I give it a 2 out of 10 for Tonali joining. But I think going off what you said there, it was because the fact that they've gone for Barella and he said no. And, you look at Tonali, he was probably the hardest midfielder to steal from AC Milan. And they've somehow done it. A boyhood Milan fan. His dad is one of the ultras. He said it's his dream to play for the club. He's came out on 4 occasions, says that he'll never leave. And somehow Newcastle United have swooped in and managed to steal him. So maybe with hindsight, because they were already interested in Barella, maybe we should have given it more than a 2 out of 10. But I'll be completely honest, I thought it was all paper talk in Italy until it started emerging about Tuesday, Wednesday last week. Big statement signing, and very impressive that they've seemingly got it done.
And it shows you the bigger picture as well. Instantly Dan Ashworth and Steve Nixon are over in Milan sorting the deal out. And then we believe the medical staff have gone out to Romania, where Tonali's on international duty with the Italian under-21s. And Newcastle United mean business, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure these deals get done and as swiftly as possible.
Yeah, I think it was a really, really good sign to see Ashworth out there last week. Steve Nixon chatting with the agent in a top Milan hotel. I think, gone are the days where Lee Charnley was, trying to do these type of deals from his office at the ground at Benton. So yeah, very, very positive. They've acted very swiftly to get it done. I think the player himself is probably a bit surprised as to, what happened. I don't think there was any sort of murmurs of discontent from him. I don't think he was pushing to leave. I think Newcastle have just went to them with such a good offer that Milan have said he might be, a boyhood fan and a future captain of the club, but it makes financial sense to let him go.
Well, that's what the agent said, wasn't it? It's a big step for him in his career, Tonali, and then also it helps out not just AC Milan financially, but also the team that he joined AC Milan for. So it seems to make sense for every party. Newcastle, of course, on the face of it, are getting a very good player.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, lots of fanfare around Barella, obviously, but I think in a player like Tonali, you're getting, a hybrid midfielder. You're getting someone who, yes, he can play as a 6 and sit and sweep, but he can also, fantastic dribbler, very, very good passer, very good at set pieces. He can play sort of anywhere across the midfield. Very, very exciting player, young, hungry, 14 caps at national level. Yeah, and I think the outcry at Milan has been noticeable. Fans not happy, teammates not happy. I think probably some of the board probably not happy, that they've let Tonali go. As I said, it's a huge, huge statement.
Stuart says the signing of Tonali will help us attract other top talent to the club, and I've seen a lot of people say, "Well, this is the Kieran Trippier move of this window because he is a big name, and others will look around and say, okay, if he's leaving Milan to join Newcastle, then maybe we'll step up and take no." But it's interesting what you say about the reaction over in Milan, because it started out as if he'll never leave Milan to go to Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was he's not good enough for Newcastle. I mean, sorry, he's too good for Newcastle. Now actually he's not that much. He's not that good, and you've paid too much. We've gone through the different kind of stops on this journey. I think it just tells you everything you need to know. As you say, that the fallout, I think, just sums up exactly how highly held in regard he was at AC Milan. It tells you exactly the kind of caliber of player Newcastle are getting.
And not just the type of caliber they're getting. I think just the fact that this is a player who he was at Brescia, came up, he was dubbed the next best thing, snubbed into Milan to go to AC Milan. It was his dream. He took a pay cut to sign there permanently. As I've said earlier in the show, he came out 4 or 5 different times and said, he'd never leave, he never want to leave. It's not just the type of player they're getting on the pitch, it's the fact that they've managed to get, a player that AC Milan fans and board thought was going to be the next Maldini, the next Baresi, someone who just would never leave the San Siro. And I think, this is the pull of Newcastle United now. Yes, they can offer Champions League football, but also they're obviously going to double his wages. He's going to be playing alongside some fantastic players. It's a very good package overall, I think.
Critics would say, well, of course his head's going to be turned. He's going to at least double his wage packet. But I would say it's much more than about the money. It's easy to pick up a bigger wage in many ways, but then the questions are asked, well, why else am I going to move hundreds of miles, a different country, leave my family behind, new city, a more difficult league, some would argue. It's not just all about the money. And I think you're spot on. He's been sold ambition. He's been sold that Newcastle United are no longer this stepping stone of a club. Remember when Johan Gabay came, it was all about, well, you come here in a couple of years' time, the big boys will come knocking and we'll cash in, we'll sell you on, we'll make a profit, you'll get your big move. Whereas now it is all about achieving those trophies and achieving those honours at Newcastle United. And I think if you believe as a club in yourself, then any potential rival you're trying to sell a big move to are also going to believe in you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, the money's one thing, but he's a player who's in the past has shown that money isn't everything to him. He's now getting to test himself in, the best and biggest league in the world. A brand new challenge for him, leaving Italy for the first time. Champions League football, by the way. This move would not be happening if Newcastle had finished 5th or 6th. No way, especially not with AC Milan finishing in the Champions League spots and getting to the semi-finals last season. And also, Newcastle now on the world stage when they're on Sky Sports every other week and people are seeing what St James's Park are like. Players, and look, I'm not saying Tonali's obviously watched a lot of Newcastle games, I don't know, but I bet a lot of foreign players that are watching the Premier League think, I wouldn't mind playing there. So as I said, it's a package. There's 4 or 5 positives to make the move. Yes, he's leaving a boyhood club. I'm sure there'll be, maybe slight reservations over it, given that he didn't really want it to happen, but he's joining a club on the up at the right time.
It certainly is. Hello to Derek, who's watching. He says, a Monday show on a Monday, 3 in a row. Yes, Derek, we mean business. Although the way Aaron's feeling, he might not last the full hour. But yes, the Monday show on a Monday. We will endeavour to continue on this trend. Hello to John. Hello to the Mighty Win. Hello to Nathana over in Singapore. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. And yes, as the Mighty Win says, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button. And that helps us get the video out to a few more people. A lot of people are asking why the delay, because there was some hope that this deal could be announced Friday, Saturday, then today. But there does seem to be this kind of acceptance that it's probably going to be later in the week now. So what is the reason behind that?
Yeah, look, I think there's just a few formalities that they need to iron out. I think the move got pushed through at such a rapid pace last week. Which hasn't been helped by the fact that Tonali's obviously out in Romania and Georgia at the under-21s. That's obviously put a little bit of a delay on it. But as far as we're aware, no problems, no issues. It should get done in the coming days. But look, it's still very early in the window. They're getting business done early like they did last summer. But But yeah, I think the fact that he's away on international duty and the fact to do the medical out there, and Nick's international, the fact to fly out, it's probably just causing a little bit of a delay.
Do you think that makes a difference to a player when you see the club putting this much effort in? I know people will probably be screaming at us now, saying, "Well, that's what a big club does. They make these extra steps." But I suppose in many ways you've got to remember what it used to be like under the previous owner. But now we do have the club going the extra mile. Oh, as I say, it might not even be the extra mile, just doing what a big club does and sending personnel out there to make the sales pitch in person, flying the medical staff out there. Because some clubs might say, okay, this is the deal done, but we'll wait until you've done international duty and then you can come over and do the medical. I mean, that to me sounds stupid, but that's what some clubs might do. Whereas Newcastle, seizing the opportunity, sending people out there, wanting to get done as quick as possible. Does that make a difference, do you think, to a potential arrival?
Oh, absolutely. I think the fact that fair play, Dan Ashworth's gone over there. He's a sporting director, you can imagine it. Very, very surprised to see Steve Nixon making the journey as well. I mean, this is the man who is just the talent spotter. He's the head scout. He's the man who does the groundwork and then sort of leaves it to the club to get the deals done. Newcastle showing that they mean business by sending, all these sort of big names over. And as I said, I don't think the Newcastle of yesteryear would have done anything like this. I think, they would have probably tried to get it done, especially with the player at the under 21 Euros. I think they would have tried to get it done over the phone and over stuff like that. I think it just gets a little bit more complicated when that happens.
And where do you think he fits in? Because that is the big question. Lots of debate. Will there be a defensive midfielder who holds and allows Joe Linton, Bruno, is Joe Willock perhaps to push forward, or does he play in the kind of wide role of the centre? Maybe Sean Longstaff's going to have to be the anchor man. What's your understanding of his best position where you think Eddie Howe will deploy him?
Look, I wrote a piece about this last week when it was, it looked like the deal was about to be done. And I think it's very, very interesting that this is a player that can play in a lot of positions now. The first thing we saw when all the rumours started were, oh, well, this means he's going to, we're going to finally have signed a defensive midfielder and Bruno's finally going to be pushed forward. I generally don't think that'll be the case. You're signing a player now, Tonali, who, yes, he can play deep and he can sit, but also where he's played for Italy before. He's also played on the left of a free for Italy under Mancini. He can sometimes pop up in an attacking position. He can play in a double pivot, which he has done at Milan this season, who play a different system at Newcastle. You're getting a player who can play in 4 different midfield positions. So I don't think it's as easy as just saying he's going to come in and sit and sweep up and, allow Bruno to be more of an 8. And I think Eddie Howe's had, 4 transfer windows now at Newcastle United. He's had plenty of opportunity to go out and buy a sweeping defensive midfielder, and he hasn't. And I think that's because he wants the option of having players to rotate. Sometimes Bruno might play there, sometimes Tonali might play there. But I think, I don't think it's as simple as saying he's going to be the man to be the new week in, week out defensive midfielder.
Well, versatility that he has is going to be absolutely key. And for a man who does mainly play centrally, 130 odd crosses last season, which if you actually look at the number of crosses Newcastle United players put in, that would send them straight into second. Obviously, Kieran Trippier did 390, something like that. But I mean, that's quite it's an alarming stat in many ways that not many other Newcastle players managed to get crosses into the box. But for him to go straight to second shows you as well, it's not just about breaking up play. It's not just about getting your foot stuck in. It's about being creative as well. And I did do a YouTube video the other day where I went through a few stats. And if you look at his stats in comparison to every other player in Serie A, then they're not great. They don't blow you away. But then you compare them to what Newcastle United's players achieved in what was a fantastic season.
Mm-hmm.
He goes in 4th or 5th in most categories, which to some might not sound brilliant, but to me, I think that's quite something to see how he fits in. Creative, gets a foot in. He is going to be an upgrade on this Newcastle United squad.
Absolutely, and I think Eddie Howe wants to get to a point now where he's got 5, 6 midfielders battling out for 3 positions, and I think now he's close to having that. Is he going to probably play every week? Probably not. I think the amount of games they're going to have this season, there's going to be a lot of rotation. But I think if you're looking at who on paper is their best 11, I think he now walks into that team. And And I think Kieran Trippier is probably looking and thinking, I might be off a couple of these set pieces next season.
Well, if he can beat the first man, I'm giving the corners to Sandro, definitely. Hello to Thomas watching in Norway. Hello to Trules and to Conor Fraser, regular viewers. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. A few people actually making a good point that the transfer window in Italy doesn't open until July the 1st. That, of course, doesn't mean Newcastle United can't confirm that they've done a deal. We've seen this happening pretty much everywhere else. As Aaron says, though, it's just formalities, and we expect this deal to be completed by the end of the week. The other question is, though, Aaron, it is a big spend. It is a big spend. We believe at least 60 million, probably rising to above 70. Now, we don't know what the budget is. We don't really like trying to put a number on the budget because it's a fluid situation. They could also go and sell players to hype up the budget. And actually, someone over the weekend made a good point to me that you could actually say Newcastle have 100 million in the bank to spend this window, but not every player's gonna. You're not going to pay. If you're paying 75 million for Tonali, you're not going to pay that 75 million up front. You're likely to pay it in installments. So actually, you only lost 10 million of that budget. So when I asked you the question of how does this impact the budget, does that come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with every deal we will see this season, Newcastle aren't alone in this. As you say, it won't be 60 million pounds up front. I think there will be, it will be structured in a way that there's bonuses in there, there's performance clauses in there, but also at the same time, let's not be under any illusions. To tempt him away from AC Milan and to tempt AC Milan to sell him, they've had to go in with a decent offer. We think it's around 60 million, which is, a big outlay, but, we shouldn't really be surprised. Eddie Howe said, he wanted 2 or 3 big elite additions. And I think, he's got the first one over the line. Now, will we see another 60 million pound outlay this season, this summer? I don't think so. I think you'll see another 2 or 3 brought in. Definitely you improve the first team, but I think this will probably be the biggest single outlay that we see from Newcastle in the next couple of months.
But what's also refreshing is the fact they're negotiating sensibly in the transfer market. They're not going in with insulting offers, which have got no hope of being accepted. They're not wasting anyone's time. They're not wasting their own time. They've got in. They've known what AC Milan have wanted. They've obviously tried to bring the price down, but they've not gone in and gone, right, yes, 30 million from, because it just wastes everyone's time. And you're always going to try and get the best deal for your club. But I do think that's really refreshing because, again, and I apologise for harking back to the dark old days under Mike Ashley, Lee Charney and co leading the negotiations. But we all know how that played about. It wasn't just trying to get the best deal for Newcastle United. It was trying to get the cheapest deal for Newcastle United, and often putting in bids that you just had no hope of getting accepted. It's totally different now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if it's true about the 50 million pound bid for Barella, I think that is probably quite low. I think they've definitely, tried their luck there. They've chanced their arm and it hasn't come off. So they've moved on to Tonali, and AC Milan have been much more receptive to selling them. But as you say, they're not wasting time. They're not trying to get, low ball offers in that have got no hope of thinking. And also they're walking away from deals if they feel the negotiation isn't thing. Inter Milan made it clear, we do not want to sell Nicolo Barella this summer. Newcastle said, right, that's fine. We'll walk away from the deal. As I say, AC Milan, didn't have that same stance.
When you hear Italian journalists and people who follow the football closely over there and follow AC Milan closely, and they say he's worth 50 million minimum. 50 million at most. And they say Newcastle have overpaid. What do you say to them? Are you a little bit skeptical of that?
Very, very skeptical. I think it's is it a case of, we didn't really want to keep him anyway? Do you know what I mean? Is it a little bit of jealousy? Is it a little bit of, well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's a little tinge of that. At the same time, it's a big, big gamble. He's never played Premier League football before. Clearly he's very, very talented. He's very highly rated in Italy. But we've seen over the years how many players, especially from Serie A, come over and just cannot make the grade. There's a lot of them. Aquilani stands out with Liverpool, someone who they paid a lot of money for back then and just didn't cut it. So he might need a little bit of time to get up to speed. I've seen some journalists over there and fans saying that he goes misses in the big games. But look, this is a player who played, 50 odd times for AC Milan last season. He got into the Champions League semi-final. He's captaining the under-21s at the Euros at the moment. He's played 15 times or 14 times for the senior team. They're getting a very good footballer. I just hope that they can bet him in and get him up to speed with the English game as soon as possible.
All the more important reason to get him in early and get him settled in the squad, get him over to America with his teammates, and then have him back here in time for that Premier League season, hopefully bedded in. Into the comments we go then. Thomas says, I'd love to see Szoboszlai as our second signing after Tonali. Being able to bring in talents like this is fantastic. Happy old days for an old man like me who's followed the Toon since 1968. It's interesting on Szoboszlai because late last week they announced that they had signed a midfielder. They're also going to confirm another two attacking midfielders once the window opens. And a lot of Newcastle United fans kind of jumped on that and said, well, that means, surely Newcastle United are making a move from, we'll get a decision soon enough. There was also a plane that flew from Oxford to Leipzig. It flew from the airport owned by the Reuben brothers in Oxford, which didn't help or did help the theories. But we have to also remember that Leipzig have also sold two of their really key players, one to Chelsea and one's leaving on a free transfer to Bayern Munich. One's an attacking midfielder, one's a centre midfielder. So, the players who they've announced they're signing are more than likely to be replacements for those that we know are already leaving Leipzig, not likely to be a replacement for Szoboszlai, who is, in some people's mind, on his way to Newcastle.
Yeah, I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago and sort of how much to look into it. I mean, there was a big push a couple of weeks ago to try and get the captain, Danny Olmo, to stay, which they've managed to do, which again plugged a hole. I think the thing with Szoboszlai is, whether it's Newcastle United related or not, he's had plenty opportunities the last couple of weeks to commit his future. Every time he gets put in front of a camera, he's asked, what does the future hold? And every time he says, well, maybe I want to try something new, or, I don't want to have regrets, I think was the last thing he said. I think they're resigned to losing him. The people that I've spoke to regarding Szoboszlai say that he will be leaving Leipzig this summer. The only thing I think that probably stops Newcastle United is the price. Now, we know he's got a release clause, which is set to drop at the end of the month. Is it going to be one of those ones, a little bit like Maddison, whether, he comes to Newcastle or not, that drags on it? And, as the options start to thin out towards the end of the summer, as Leipzig maybe get a little bit more desperate to get some cash in for him, I think then we'll see that price drop. I think at the minute, you look at the fees being touted for him, 70 million, 60 million. I just can't see it happening at that price at the moment.
So do you see the fact that this clause, we believe, runs out on the 1st of July? Because some might look at that as it works in Leipzig's favour, where they can then say, well, actually, we want 75, 80 million. He's a good player. We know how good he is. We know he's got suitors. Start a bidding war. But are you saying actually it might work against them in many ways because, people aren't going to want to pay, maybe even the release clause as it stands, they want to pay less. And as time goes on, the power might start to slip from their hands.
If this clause runs out on July 1st, then you're going to see, Szoboszlai moving before then, I think. I don't think you're going to get... And I think if it drags on after that, I don't think you're going to see any club paying more than what his release clause was a couple of weeks ago. It would make no sense. And I think the deeper we go in this window, Leipzig have strengthened in the belief that they're going to lose him. I think you can maybe see that price getting bought down. But look, there's going to be plenty of other suitors. I mean, you talk about Tonali being highly rated, Szoboszlai, similar age profile, very, very, very highly rated in Germany. I think he'll still cost, a pretty penny.
Do you think, though, I mean, we've got people in the comments here saying, I'd buy him for 40 to 45 million. I think, that was the deal. He'd be very happy with that. And Al also says we can't afford him. But as you said earlier in the show, when Tonali signs for 60 odd million, you think that's going to be the only big splash out this summer. So therefore, you write off any potential arrival for Szoboszlai.
Yeah, and look, the thing with the release clauses, and that is what Leipzig saw at the time that he would be worth. It's not to say that he actually is worth 60 or 70 million. For me, it's a big risk to sign two players potentially for north of 120 million, and they haven't played Premier League football. I just think there's other options out there. I think Newcastle will be smart. I don't think they'll be railroaded into any, big deals from. I don't know. I think it could be one that drags on.
Where else do you think Newcastle United are looking? Instantly with Dan Ashworth over Milan, they were then linked to Theo Hernandez of AC Milan. Obviously, we know left back is a big priority for Newcastle United. I think they'll look closer to home. I think they'll look at someone in the Premier League and try and get someone who they don't have to really worry about settling in, bedding in. Obviously, Hernandez is a fantastic player, but again, he's not going to be cheap. I think there's probably better value in the Premier League than there is over on the continent.
Yeah, potentially. I think, we already know that. I think if you look at the last couple of weeks, the likes of Tierney, Cucurella, Anthony Robertson all linked. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe go for a younger left back, just to maybe, not the Harrison Ashby mold, but someone similar to that. Because you've got to think they've still got Byrne on the books, they've still got Matt Targett on the books, they've offered Dummett a new deal. Jamal Lewis is still there. They're very well stocked at left back, and I know they need an upgrade, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they went for a younger option there. I think they'll want a new centre back. I think they'll want someone to rival Share and potentially follow in his footsteps. And I think they'll want another attacker. I think there's still a good couple of deals to be done before now and the end of the summer.
Just check there the price tag for Nkunku, who's going to join Chelsea from Leipzig. 52 million is the reported price tag. So they're getting money into the bank, and I think his replacement's only cost them 6 or 8 million. So they're not going to be shy of a few bob, are they?
I think that is much more like the fee we'll see Szoboszlai go for this summer. Whether it's Newcastle or not, I think something around 50 million, given his age profile, given what he did last season, given what he's done at international duty, I think 50 might be fair.
Certainly going to be interesting. I definitely think they need another attacker in it, and it's interesting because if I would like to see an out-and-out defensive midfielder, but obviously if they buy Tonali, we're not going to see that. But I just wonder, does it still leave them a little bit short? Or are we saying obviously Tonali's got the tenacity to play in that position? We're not saying we're not going to pigeonhole him into that position.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if they get another midfielder in on top of Tonali. I don't think you're going to go out and spend the same amount of money on a midfielder as you have for him. But if they can go out and get, a 15, 20 million pound midfielder who can maybe sit, who can just, offer a bit more depth. I mean, they were so light in that position last season. They were so light, probably even before Shelvey went. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another midfielder brought in as well.
If you're watching live, let us know in the comments what you think of that. Will Newcastle United bring in another midfielder on top of Tonali? Who would you like it to be? If you're up for signing a left back, who would you like it to be? Let us know who your choices would be. Loads of questions coming in. This one from John. Do sources give local journals debatable info, i.e. giving a skewed impression on certain subjects, i.e. transfer budgets?
Look, I think what you've got to remember is that there's a lot of sources out there, and one person's information might not be the same as somebody else. Somebody has a source that's maybe very, very high at the club, but that might not be. So
That's not just club, is it?
It's not just
agents.
It's agents. It's staff. It's players.
I mean, I've had people this week, I mean, someone's joked about seeing Dominic's mum in the chippy. Dominic's obviously his mum in the chippy this weekend. But I've genuinely had people come to me and say, "Oh, I've heard this player was here this weekend, or this player's agent was here this weekend." Now, you don't take that at face value, then put in the calls. But often, sometimes that's how it starts, and that gets the ball rolling. Then you go and ask the right people or your trusted confidants, and then you get the information back. So, I mean, but I think the key point is that you take everything with a pinch of salt, really, because sometimes you do question the motives of certain people telling you this or that.
No, absolutely. I think how many times have we seen agents trying to tout their players to maybe draw a bit of interest? Clubs maybe doing it as well. And I mean, just on your point there, I mean, the amount of times you hear taxi drivers or whatever say, "Oh, I've heard off the groundsman that Madison's going to be in first week of summer." As I say, you've got to just take it all with a big pinch of salt.
Indeed, indeed. Let's move on then from transfers, and we're going to talk about Anthony Gordon on international duty for England under 21s. It is the Euro Championship. That's where Tonali is as well. I tell you what, right? We've said on this podcast many times, a full preseason under Eddie Howe is going to work wonders for him. Now, a few people, we mentioned that a few weeks back, was saying, well, he's not going to have a rest though. He's going to go away with England, then he's going to come back. He's going to be shattered. But his form for England in the last week or so has been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be tired. He's going to be on cloud nine. He's going to go into that preseason camp on an absolute high, and it's just going to propel him, I think, to greatness in Newcastle United. Yeah, I've said it.
I am so excited for next season with Anthony Gordon there. I just think the one player I'm looking forward to seeing next year is him. I think, as we've said many times on the podcast, I think a full preseason with Howe, and I think the way he's ended the season, getting his first goal at Chelsea, playing in a different role, going to England duty, playing in a different role, really, really thriving. We're probably actually seeing that maybe his Newcastle future doesn't lie out wide, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I mean, again, it's that versatility. I think that's what is key for him. You could look at other players in the squad as well. Isak, for example. I mean, across the midfield, Joe Linton, Willock, and of course, as we mentioned, the players that they're going to look to sign are going to bring in. Versatility is going to be absolutely key, I think, going forward in terms of what they want to achieve on the pitch.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, Gordon's testament to it. I think we saw the last game of the season at Stamford Bridge. He was playing a sort of, central number 8, number 10 role, got his first goal. He's playing as an out-and-out number 9 for England, which I didn't think we'd see. And he's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, the way he scored a fantastic goal in the first game, which was disallowed for an infringement, and he scored a fantastic header yesterday. He's linking up well. He got an assist in the first game. He looks at home in that central role, and maybe, you've been banging the drum for months that they need a third choice striker. Do they?
Anthony Gordon
Is Anthony Gordon now the backup?
I don't know.
Well, he's playing an out-and-out 9 at a decent level at the Euros, and he's absolutely flying.
Yes, but he played that at Everton, didn't he, as well? And I can't remember I can't remember working too well for him.
But it's good to see that you
have options.
There's now 3 or 4 different positions on that pitch where Anthony Gordon could play, and it's very, very exciting.
How important is it that he does have a good Euros with 21s for his confidence?
Oh, it's absolutely massive. Look, it's something that I always harp on about on this podcast. Must have been very, very tricky to leave Everton in those circumstances. He came to Newcastle, huge price tag, injury problems. Now, just to see him getting his first goal, on the last day of the season, to see him, really playing some fantastic football this summer, I think it'll do absolute wonders for him.
We've got a few people talking here about Anthony Gordon. Les says Gordon has stood out within the 21s, but the pace of the game hasn't been at the Eddie Howe level. Trules backs it up, says you've got to take into account that Gordon was playing in the under 21s, but she hopes that Gordon can come good. I think it's just, for me, just about that confidence. Yes, okay, the level might not be Premier League standard, but then I also make the argument that even the senior side, England senior side, have it so easy. I mean, come on, you're playing Malta and North Macedonia. With all due respect, what is the point in that? So, people looked at the way Madison played against Malta and were like, brilliant, get him in. He's had a fantastic game there. Callum Wilson getting a goal as well. Cracking. Yeah, but does the same not apply? Because with all due respect, again, honestly, you might as well just give England a bye to the tournament because they play easy teams in my view, and so I don't necessarily agree with the comments made there about it's in the 21s. I think it's still a very good standard, but it is all about, I think, just boosting the confidence of Anthony Gordon, who knows he failed to hit his own levels. He failed to hit the expectations of Newcastle United fans. He failed probably to match the levels that Eddie Howe thought he would match when he was signed in January, and he knows it's a big season coming up for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, yes, the standard might not be what we want it to be for the type of challenge, but he's getting into fantastic positions. He's scoring goals. He's linking up well. He's looking very confident. It's going to do him absolute wonders, no matter who the opposition are.
Philip says Gordon will be a massive player for us in a few years, and makes a point that he moved away from home and the lad had to settle in. Totally agree with that. We've got a few people asking about James Maddison and the latest on there. I mean, this is the fluid situation of the transfer market, isn't it? And it's only been open a week or so. You know, it looked last week like Newcastle United were in front. Now it looks like Spurs are leading the race. Again, whispers that he prefers to move to London, and Newcastle interest has cooled off. Where do we believe the interest lies at the moment? What is the latest with Maddison?
I think Maddison's, looking more and more tricky as the days go on. I think we know that there's been an interest for such a long time, but Leicester somehow think they can, ask for £50 million for a player who, one, is in the last year of his contract, and two, has just been relegated. So I think, again, like Summerside, it's going to come down to price. I think we know Eddie Howe likes him. We know Eddie Howe thinks that there's a role for him to play in this team. But again, I think, with Leicester demanding what they're demanding, I think it's very, very hard to see that a deal gets done unless they drop the price significantly.
Got a few people on Twitter getting in touch, so I'll read through these questions here. They're all based on transfers, as you might imagine. So we'll start with Peter's question. With Tonali more or less now signed, who are we thinking will drop out of the current starting 11? Which in itself is refreshing, because who is in the current starting 11 in that midfield anyway? It could be one person would already have to be dropping out anyway, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a very, very fluid sort of setup in that midfield anyway, with the four big hitters before Tonali comes in. I think on paper, would it maybe be Tonali, Bruno, Joelinton?
I've seen someone suggest Joelinton out on the left.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that midfield three, are you maybe lacking a little bit in attack? There's not many goals there. Maybe you drop Joelinton on the left. Willett comes back in. I think Longstaff is probably the one. And look, it pains me to say, given that I'm, the member of the fan club, but I think maybe on paper he probably drops out. Tonali, the incredible engine, is probably going to do the running that he does.
Do you get the feeling that Eddie Howe last season was laying the foundations to move Joelinton permanently out in that wide position? I've seen a few people suggest that. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I do think he's stronger when he's playing part of a midfield three, but I've seen a lot of people pushing that agenda.
I don't think he was laying the groundwork to do it permanently. I think Joelinton's best position is in the middle three, and I think you've also got to remember that at different stages of last season there was no Maxi out there, there was no Anthony Gordon out there. At times you felt like he was sort of being shoehorned into that position. He did very, very well going forward towards the end of the season, but I don't think that's going to be his out and out position going forward.
We've got Gordon Tate saying, with the signing of Imminent, of course, has gone out over to Feyenoord. How do Newcastle ensure their players get game time? QR at Hearts just seems to be the latest of a few unsuccessful loan spells for our youngsters.
Look, I think, of course, you're going to point back to Kual. It wasn't a good loan deal. They thought it was good, but if any man can get loan deals sorted, it's Dan Ashworth. Look at what he did at Brighton. They signed Moises Caicedo from the Ecuadorian League, $4 million, sent him straight out on loan. Within a season, he's in the first team. He's now going to go for $70 million. Alexis McAllister, signed him from Argentina, loaned him back to Argentina. Within a year, he's in the first team. He's gone to Liverpool. Every big player that they now have, a lot of them were signed, loaned straight out. Dan Ashworth knows exactly what he's doing. And actually, if you look at the Kual deal before it happened, sending him to Hearts was a good shout, good level. Playing the likes of Celtic and Rangers can only do you good. There was 3 Australian teammates over there. It looked good on paper. Yes, it didn't work out for whatever reason. I've got absolutely no doubts about the loan deals that they're going to be sending on. And actually, sending Minter to Feyenoord is fantastic. Champions League football. They've just won the Dutch league. I've got absolutely no qualms about the loan setup at the moment.
And I love the fact that that deal was announced as it was announced. He was confirmed as a Newcastle United player. I mean, that is the speed to which Newcastle United are working at now. There's no messing around. QR, though, quite interesting. Could he remain part of the first team squad, do you think?
I don't think so. I think, as I point back to Ashworth's blueprint is always get them out, get them minutes. I don't think there'll be minutes for him in this Newcastle team, despite the amount of games they're going to have. I think get him a proper loan next season where he's going to get minutes, get experience in Europe. I think he'll go out again.
It's going to be interesting to see. I was really impressed with how he handled not getting much game time at Hearts, and he came out and said, I don't regret anything, great experience. I mean, that shows a real level of maturity. Obviously, you would like them to play week in, week out. I'm not a fan, as some have suggested, of having a clause where they have to play 75, 80% of their games, because you want them in the team on merit.
Just to play devil's advocate, that loan spell at Hearts and the fact he wasn't playing will only make him more hungry to make sure the next time he goes away, he's getting game time. So, yes, we would have liked to see a lot more of him, but I think next time around they'll get it right.
So just going back to who drops out of the squad should Tonali or when Tonali signs, we've got Roger saying Longstaff would drop out. Trul says Longstaff should be dropped, but how? I think she's suggesting a bit of favouritism there. People, we've got Mighty Win saying, for me, Willock should be under greater threat than Sean Longstaff, which is quite interesting. I think I do, though, subscribe to your kind of theory that it does lack a bit of threat. And we know when Joe Willock finds form, he knows where the back of the net is. And we do need to see more goals from him next season as well. It's a big season for him, but, he finished it with a flourish. Obviously got injured, unfortunately, but he did finish the season strongly. Back to the questions then on Twitter. Toon Barmy NUFC says, do we need a backup right back in this window with Manquillo surely heading for the exit, Kraft just coming back from bad injury, and Ashby lacking experience? Is this a position we are looking to fill? Are we going to have a fight here again? Am I going to have to fight him?
I'm not fighting anyone over
Keep Manquillo.
No,
Keep him.
Come on. To answer the questions, I'm going to just skate over your frankly wrong opinion, but I think, no, I don't think it's a priority. I think, as you said, you've got 4 there. Manquillo, I would say is probably going to go, but really, really excited to see Emil Kraft back if he's over this ACL injury. I think
it's going to take him months.
No, he's back on the grass. As a man who's currently recovering from an ACL injury, I know that he's close. He was probably about 4 months ahead of me. He's got to be back soon, and if he's not, I'm really worried about myself getting back. Harrison Ashby, it's a huge season for. Signed, from West Ham, a couple of £1 million, but really, really, exciting signing given what he did down there. I want to see him stay fit. I want to see him getting more game time. I really want to see him kick on, but I don't think they need another right back this summer.
Would you send Harrison Ashby out on loan? I've seen a link to Leeds being muted. Again, if you can kind of get him into a team where he gets first team football, probably wouldn't be the worst deal. But then do you leave yourself short if we're not 100% sure Kraft is going to be match fit for a few months? If you're ridiculously pushing Manquillo to the exit door, then you can't send Ashby out on loan.
I think if it gets to the end of the window and Manquillo is still there for whatever reason, then I think, maybe send him out on loan. I think Leeds would actually be quite a good fit for him if he was going to get decent minutes. But otherwise, I think if Manquillo goes, I think you've probably got to keep him, try and get him integrated in the first team.
I like the Mighty Win. Look at that. With you, Andrew. I think Manquillo is a cracking cover for Trippier. Thank you, the Mighty Win.
Read that comment above.
There's too many comments to read who disagree with me on this. Kraft and Ashby, great support for Tripp, Soz, but Manquillo has to go, I think, is what Roger's getting there. To coin a phrase says, it's either Kraft or Manquillo. The squad can't have room for both.
Well, there we go. Answer that one. If it had to be one or the other, would you like to see Kraft go or Manquillo go?
If both fully fit, then Kraft gets ahead of Manquillo for me. But I just worry how much this injury's affected him.
We aren't going to know, are we? I mean, we haven't seen him since August.
Could you potentially send Kraft out on loan until January and get him built up? Send him maybe back to Sweden, send him to the championship side and just say, look, you are part of our first team plans, but you're not going to get to play that much anyway ahead of clearing Trippier because he's largely fit all the time. Go out and build yourself back up.
I can't see it. I just don't think there's the bodies there, especially if Manquillo goes. I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, but in that case, you keep Manquillo. Keep him.
There's a lot of love for Manquillo.
Look at that.
Comments, I'm surprised.
John, Manquillo must stay. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of love. What does the other John say? Trust in the process. Every signing now is an exciting sign. Just loving every minute of the roller coaster of a club at the moment. Go back to the last few questions on Twitter. Thank you very much for getting in touch. This one is another one about Tonali. We've kind of already answered it, but we'll answer it again. Ethan says, after signing Tonali, how much do you think Newcastle will spend in the rest of the window? Aaron's kind of already said, well, hasn't kind of, he's already said he doesn't think there'll be another big outlay.
I still think there'll be significant money spent. I still think they'll get another one or maybe two through the door that are instantly going to improve this starting 11. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see, decent outlays on an attacking midfielder, whether that's Maddison, Soboslai or elsewhere. I could still see easily another £15 million midfielder come in. There's money to be spent at left back. I think we'll still see a significant outlay. I don't think they're by any means done. I think there's money to be spent.
Tony says Crafts is better than Manquillo, but it depends on how he comes back from injury. John says Manquillo is a good squad player. Trul says Kraft isn't better than Manquillo. They are at the same level in her opinion. And the Mighty Win says, as I said before, if Ash went alone, couldn't get the lead starting 11 in the championship, he's not going to do it for us. Loads of interesting comments there. Thank you, as always. Right, we're going to talk about the comments from Newcastle United's chairman, Al Romani, who was interviewed by the club. It looks like probably, I would imagine, on the last home game against Leicester, wasn't it? Because he showed the inside of his suit with the Newcastle United badge. So let's read some of what he had to say. If you're watching live, let us know in the comments what you thought about his interview, and we'll get Aaron's analysis of it. So he was asked about the Champions League qualification, and he said it's a great achievement to start with. So did we expect to do that? Yes. I mean, we have the ingredients for success. You have a club that's only in one city. We have the will and want to achieve the best positions we can. We have the right people. And when I say the right people, I mean the management, the technical director, the manager, and the right players. Because remember, the players are one of the most important components. And to top it all off, we have a great fan base. If you have the right people and the right will, and then you have the right processes and funds, if you put it all together and it's a great recipe for success, that's what we are achieving right now.
Two things for me that stand out. I think one, he's absolutely spot on about them getting the right people in place. I think you look at Newcastle off the pitch now, Eels, Ashworth, Silverstone, that lot. It's fantastic. Two, sure, is he the only man that expected Newcastle United to get Champions League
I think
football?
so.
I certainly don't think that was the general assessment.
I guess that shows you kind of the mindset of the Public Investment Fund, isn't it? They're never going to admit to not thinking they can achieve the best, because it probably shows a sign of weakness. They want the very best. They probably saying that, even if you maybe don't feel it, is probably a step towards that. Very confident that they've got everything in place. And Armani is right about the people they've got in place, and that's one of the things that has stood out, is about going out and getting the most experienced people in place. And we had an episode actually of Let's Talk Out that went out over the weekend with Stuart Jameson, who was filling in for Gibbo, and we were talking about a fan zone, and we were talking about having Darren Eales in place and having Seller, the sponsor, to maybe help out with this fan zone. And Stu made an excellent point. He said, in many ways, it's a brave decision to put into place Darren Eales, Dan Ashworth, Peter Silverstone, and others, because what you're doing is a man that's Staveley, as Al Romani, as Jimmy Rubin. He said, you're not having an ego. You're holding your hands up and going, actually, there are better people, more experienced people to get on with the job in hand. And I don't know, what they know. I'm not as experienced as them. And he says, it shows no ego and a brave decision.
Can you imagine those type of appointments in the night, actually? Never in a million years. So exactly that. Yeah.
Nah, not at all. And I mean, the other thing that stood out in this interview was talking about the ambition to be number one, which I think hit a lot of people. Obviously, everyone connected to Newcastle wants to see them battling at the right end of the league. What did you take from that? it wasn't really a revelation because we know why they've come in to buy Newcastle United. They want to be the very best.
Look, but you hit the nail on the head before. The public investment fund do not settle for anything but the best, and I think this, could it be to the sort of detriment of Eddie Howe and Newcastle that if they all of a sudden slip up like they haven't done so far, but if they have a poor start to the season and they're struggling in the Champions League, PIF are used to winning. They want to win. They've got the money to win. They've got the ambition to win, and everything they do, mediocrity isn't sort of tolerated. So I don't know. Maybe further down the line it becomes a negative. But I think as you've said, they want to be number one in everything.
Does it give fans hope that this window, Eddie Howe, will be back and we won't be sitting at the end of the window with only Tonali brought in and Newcastle lacking a squad that can handle the rigors of the Champions League?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's good that our mind comes to the games. He sees Newcastle United at its best. I think he knows that with a few more ingredients in this team that can do really, really good things, and I think they'll be the checkbook.
And
this summer.
Just speaking in general, it's not something we saw from Mike Ashley. Very, very, very rarely. I think 3-4 times maybe we saw him speaking, and then that was filled with promises that more often than not didn't come to fruition. What does it mean for Newcastle United fans to see the chairman coming out and speaking publicly and openly about their ambitions and not talking about having wealth and the value of wallpaper and not being able to match the big boys, actually setting out a grand plan not to match the big boys, to be the big boy?
Yeah, it's so refreshing, isn't it? It's night and day from Mike Ashley coming out and releasing nameless statements that they've spent all the money on Joe Willock and there's nothing left, or as you say, the wallpaper, all this money being in the wallpaper. I think it's just good to see that members of the club are coming out. We see it a lot with Staveley, Aramai, and Eels does a lot of interviews. It can only be a good thing.
And obviously, there's always a lot of talk about, will the Saudis? I'm not talking you ever believe, but some people, will they sell out? Or how invested are they actually in Newcastle United? But again, I suppose if you're a Newcastle United fan, look very positively at that interview, it just reaffirms that the commitment to what they see to the club and that they're here to stay in the mean business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see the portfolio that PIF have got. They've got their fingers in a lot of pies. The deals that they're doing in Saudi Arabia are astronomical. Whether they're good or bad for the game, it's a different question. But even with that being said, and the fact that PIF are over across everything, you can still see that Newcastle United are very much part of their plans, and they're putting a lot of time and resources into that.
And one of the things they are putting resources in is the potential to expand the stadium. News broke over the weekend that the East Stand is what they're currently looking at, an extra 10,000 seats or so. Now, they're going to have the very best architects on this. They're going to be working with the council. But that's going to be some challenge because that listed building is not too far away from the stadium. Again, I was speaking to someone over the weekend. They said, well, could Newcastle United not buy out everybody in Leazes Terrace and then incorporate that into the stand, turn some of it into a cafe, one bit into a museum? You don't lose anything of it. You maintain it, you conserve it. But what it means is that you can build what you want. I'm not sure that would work. I've seen other people saying knock it down brick by brick and build it elsewhere. That's definitely not happening.
Never.
If Newcastle United is part of our culture and heritage of Newcastle United, then so is the important streets like Leazes Terrace, etc. But yeah, I mean it's big news, but it's not going to happen overnight.
No, not going to happen overnight. But very, very interesting that it came out over the weekend though, because every time we hear about stadium expansions or potential plans, these stands never really the one that you hear is going to get extended. So very interested to see how they do it. As you say, they'll have the best of the best on it. Got a sort of sneak peek at it when I was at the Sam Fender gig. The safe standings in place in the corner looks really, really good. I think that'll be really good next season.
I mean, 10,000 extra seats, I think it's going to cost them a lot of money. And
of course it will.
Is it going to be worth it for 10,000 extra seats?
Come on. I mean, you see the demand for tickets now. They are going to have to extend it. sooner rather than later, and whether it's 10 or 15 or whatever. And to be fair, look, I'm not an architect. I can't say exactly how it'll be done, but even if they add 10,000 on there, I think there'll be another extension. Look at what Manchester City have done. They've built stand after stand after stand. They're keeping increasing their capacity, and I think, if City are doing it, then Newcastle United definitely should be.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to watch. And of course, still got the Strawberry Corner lands. Right, we're going to finish off on some trivia, and I'm going to actually manage to add it to the screen properly this time, because last time I didn't. So let me add in the quiz that we've got. Right. So you guys watching live, do join in. I'm hoping you guys can just about see that. Let's see if I can make it any slightly bigger. No. Going to work like that, right? It is. Hopefully you guys can see this now at home. We'll explain to you bit by bit. Newcastle United players in tournament squads from 1990 to the present day. Can you name the Newcastle United players that were part of the squads of the national teams during these continental and intercontinental tournaments? 52 answers, 15 minutes. I don't think it's going to take that long, but we're going to give it a go. So I'll play the quiz.
Okay, so we're starting with the 2019 Asian Cup, Japan and South Korea. What are you thinking then?
Muto's got to be one.
Yeah.
And then
key?
Remind me, I might have gone blind.
I think you just type key and you might.
Yeah, of course. You know what? I couldn't think. I knew it wasn't KEY. I just couldn't think about how you spell it right. And then we've got in 2017 African Cup of Nations. Ghana. Atu.
Yeah.
Right, so they are Congo. 2017 Lual.
Big Uemala? No, he was from
Senegal.
2017 African Cup of Nations.
The Army was the Senegal one.
Congo.
Was he still Mbemba still? Yeah. Oh, look at that. Just pop out in the comments and let us see. Martins, someone has shouted there. So Nigeria, where's Nigeria? We'll just type in Martins, see what comes up. There we go. So that was African Cup of Nations 2006 and 2008.
Euro 2016. Sissoko.
Look at that. No messing about. African Cup of Nations 2015, Ivory Coast.
Tiote.
Senegal, Bar or Cisse. Well, Bar is one, 2012 African Cup of Nations, and Cisse is the other one there, African Cup of Nations 2012 and 2015 African Cup of Nations for Senegal. Right, 2014 France World Cup. Well, Kabai's got to be one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
No, Euro 2012, right?
Debussy.
Was he still here in 2014? He was. Remy? Remy, maybe?
Yeah, Remy.
Oh, like Remy, look at that, right? Netherlands.
Yamat.
Where?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's how you spell it, so it must be wrong. Why not?
Oh, no, of course, man.
Of course.
No. I'm having a mind blank, yeah. Under pressure. Live audience. Oh.
Oh, not Wijnaldum. Yamat, not
2014.
Cruel.
Oh, yeah, he saved the penalties, didn't he? Of course did. Another Nigerian 2014. We'll go back in the comments. Goodbye, Sissoko. Martins, yeah, got all them. Nigeria 2014. Right, we'll go on to Euro 2012. Another Frenchman. It could be Torvan or Cabela, you know.
Yeah, maybe. 2012, they went there that early. Euro 2012, France.
It was up top, no, left. Right, Argentina, Jonas Gutierrez. Euro 2008, Czech Republic, and Turkey. You know, I'm just going to type in memory, see what happens. What was the front? Rosenthal, David Rosenthal.
Yeah, Rosenthal. 2008, was he still there? Yeah, he would have been.
Go on then.
ZEHNAL.
Yeah, look at that. And actually, it's today, back in 2007, that his signing was announced. So there you go. Right, we've got 11 minutes to go. We're going to smash this. What we're missing up there? So we're missing 2014 Nigerian international.
2012 Euro France
France.
international. Go back in the comments to see if they're helping us.
Craig Murat's good shout. Shola.
Sure, if I-
That
Nigeria,
is
a great
correct,
shout.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Look at that.
Great
Fantastic shout by Stephen Kennedy there. Thank you very much for that. Right.
come on. The French Revolution, when they signed all these players, it was Kabay, it was Debussy, it was
Yanga Mbiwa?
Yazambiwa. No, was he?
I think he was,
Really?
but I don't even know how you're going to
No,
spell
I
it.
can spell it.
Go on then. Go on. I'm sure he was French. I was wrong. Now, he's a player that I wish we'd see more of.
Mua for the 2007. Oh no.
2006 World
Juga.
Cup. Juga. Yeah, so that was the Asian Cup. Right, Senegal, we've got 2 players, African Cup of Nations. 5.
Yeah.
So that's 2, 2006 and 2008. Who else did we have? Jeremy, captain, didn't he?
Yeah.
Jeremy. That right. Another Senegal, he's Cameroon. Another Senegal international. 2008. Oh, look at that, Habib. Now he was a solid right back. England. Well, Owen's got to be that English one.
France 2006.
My mind is not very good at this. Sure, he didn't get a cap. No, not the song. Right, come on, we can get Shearer. We can go back to front now because we've got 9 minutes.
Okay.
So, 1990 Scotland.
FIFA World Cup Scotland.
Oh, I'm trying to think who was. All right, good start. Euro 96. I did just type in Shearer there.
England.
I wasn't. He was Blackburn, was he? Moved in the summer, didn't he? So did Ferdinand get a shout?
Yeah.
Ferdinand got a shout.
Party.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think Gedsley got called up either. Barton maybe. No.
PS.
PS 996. Joined till the 90s. Joined under Kenny Dalglish, didn't he? Czech Republic, Czech.
Yeah.
2 in there.
97 can't remember. There's a Spria.
Peru, Solano. Ireland, Given. O'Brien was in that squad, wasn't he? There we go. 2002 World Cup. There we go. Congo. I'm going to go to Walla. Yes, I am brilliant at this. Oh, who's that England one? Who's that up front? No, who's that on the wings? There's another one. Let's go back to the comments here. Batty, Remy Cabela, do you know that? Remy. Come on, someone watching must know that 1990 World Cup one. We weren't even born, me now, and so you're going to have to give us some help.
So we're still missing 96 England and 98 England. And we're missing France 06 World Cup as well. France 06. Try Robert. I don't think it will be, but.
Nah, he left well before then, didn't he? I tried that. Who was left back? Who's that England Euro 96 one? Benson, maybe? I know he left well before that, though. Who was centre back? Albert. Peacock wasn't in. Barton. Beresford. I don't think Beresford got a call. Howie. What a shout, Tony. Look at that. Right. Let's go back and see someone's help with the Scottish one. Alan Smith. Roy Aiken. That could be a shout there, Morgan. Right. Let's try and get that one in. Roy Aiken. Oh, yes. Right. 6 minutes and we've got 3 to go. Right. So we need France 2006 World Cup and
France 2012 Euros.
And then England
98.
Go back in the comments. Gaza, no, didn't play. Rob Lee. Ooh, Rob Lee, 98 World Cup. We'll have it a go. Oh, look
Yeah,
at that,
sure,
Rob
well
Lee.
done.
World Cup right here. Right.
So we're missing 2 Frenchmen.
2 Frenchmen. For those listening, Euro 2012. And the other one is
06 World Cup.
06 World Cup. So let's go back to the comments here. Try Remy Martin. Remy Martin? I can't remember that. Maybe, I think Win might meant like Remy, maybe. We've got Gavroche. Oh, now did he though? 06 anyway, that's miles out. So we're
I'm
looking.
trying to think of that French Revolution when they signed all these French players under Pardew.
Gouffran didn't get it.
Surely not.
No, what I'm totally stumped.
Boom Song.
Ooh. Hello.
Yes.
2006 World Cup. Right. Now, this Euro 2012 one. You can't be cheering. You meant the Euro 2012 one?
No, I meant 06 World Cup.
Okay.
Obviously.
All right. Just checking.
Somebody in the comments must know.
No, it's not Gavroche.
It's not Gavroche. It's not Remy Martin.
It was Remy.
We just need the 2012.
It's got to be someone that was already there. We can't think off the top of our head.
So, Kabay, Gouffran, Marvo, Debussy.
I'd like Remy up top. I genuinely cannot. Why was the goal? No, wasn't a goalkeeper, was it? Wasn't Basson. 2012 under. Oh, gee, come on. Ben Arfa.
Ben Arfa, maybe.
Is that going to be? Is it? Oh, yes. Now that, ladies and gents, is teamwork. How long did that take to do there? Not bad. So we had 4 minutes and 27 seconds left on the clock from 15 minutes. So we'll take that, ladies and gents. Thank you very much to everyone who took part live. Thank you very much to everyone who's listening and watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, if you're on the podcast. Remember to like and follow and leave us a rating and review. And head over to chroniclelive.co.uk to keep up with all the latest Newcastle United news. I'll pop the link into the comments to where you can join our WhatsApp transfer group. Aaron, it's gone pretty well, hasn't it?
Yeah, pretty well. We're on to a second group. We've got about 2,500 in there. So, yeah, the more the merrier.
And we put in just breaking news. And we don't bombard you guys. It's just the important stories. So I'll put that link into the comments and you can sign up for that totally free to do. And like I said, do head over to the website. We've got a dedicated Transfer Live blog where we'll bring you any of the gossip, rumours and concrete transfer stories from myself and Aaron. It's been a pleasure as always. And we'll be back very soon.